Ursula, where are you this morning?
Sorry, Tom.
Where are you? Where are you this morning?
I'm in Cumbria, working from home this morning.
And where in Cumbria?
I live in between Keswick and Penrith.
Oh, okay, that's nice.
My office is in near Whitehaven, but I'm not there today.
Okay, great. And I can see that Rachel has joined from ArtGene. Hi, Rachel. And I can see Holly has joined there as well. Hi, Holly. Nice to have you with us. We're going to give it another 30 seconds. And then we can start.
Hi, everyone.
Morning,
Hi.
Holly.
Where are you, Holly? Where are you this morning?
I am in my house in Manchester. There's a bit of noise because I'm just trying to a boiler serviced. So I'm a bit distracted. But yes, there's I'm in my house in Manchester, in Stockholm.
Great, lovely. It's that time of year to have boiler service, isn't it? Good luck on that front. Hello, Phil. Nice to see you. And hi, Rachel. Good to have you with us as well. Well, I think we'll make a start and we'll see where we get to. It's really nice to have everybody on the call this morning. So for those of you that have not been on this call before, my name is Tom Speight. I produce and I chair these calls every Friday morning between 9:30 and 10:30 on behalf of Cumbria Arts and Culture Network. And we try and find people that are interesting to listen to and talk to and ask questions of, who are doing interesting things in and around Cumbria in the artistic and cultural environment. And this morning is no exception at all. Hello, Ian. We are going to hear from Eve Livingstone. So there's an Eve and an Eva on the call this morning. So forgive me if I get that at all mixed up. Eve Livingstone, who writes for The Guardian, she's in Glasgow, written a really interesting piece a couple of weeks ago about Whitehaven and Sellafield, part of a series. So we're going to hear from Eve about her impressions of what that was all about. We're going to hear from Eva Ullrich, who is in a lovely barn just outside Kendal, where she lives and works at the moment, and she's got a beautiful exhibition of her landscape paintings up there. So she's going to give us a whiz round and talk a little bit about herself and her work. We're going to hear from Faye Morrissey, who of course runs the Armit in Ambleside, who is in the middle of setting up a new network for small museums across Cumbria. So we're going to find out what that's all about. Got a little film to show of ArtGene, which Miranda has done for us, about a new exhibition that has just opened, or just about to open, at ArtGene in Barrow. And then Kate's going to give us a monthly update on the See It to Be It project, which is the relatively new still project that Cumbria Arts and Culture Network has got off the ground to support young creatives across the county. So that is the plan for this morning. I just wanted to mention, I don't know if you listen, I'm sure you've heard of Keir Starmer's Private Passions. It was on Radio 3 this week. If you haven't listened to the full 90 minutes, it's a really, really interesting listen. Whatever you think of Keir Starmer, it's a really interesting listen of somebody's love of classical music mainly, but not exclusively. I can reveal that there is a Northern Soul track in that collection. So I just listened to it in 2 chunks in the car recently, and it was just a great listen. So Private Passions, it's a great series, but Keir Starmer I thought was a particularly interesting. I think they did an extended episode because he's the Prime Minister. I commend that to you. Still a couple of people coming through the door, but we're going to crack on. Hello, Monique, and hello, Virginia. Right, let's cross then to Eve Livingstone, who is a freelance writer, writes for The Guardian regularly, based in Glasgow, and wrote this really fascinating article that came my way and probably lots of other people's way recently. And it's part of a series, Eve, isn't it, called Against the Tide. So just tell us a bit about what the series is about, and then what you did, and perhaps just your impressions of Whitehaven and the Sellafield relationship.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. Nice to see everyone. Yeah, so as Tom said, I'm a freelance journalist, so I don't work exclusively for The Guardian. And this series that this story was part of is not my series. It kind of was conceived by a freelance photographer called Polly Braden, who had been doing a lot of work around coastal communities and young people and opportunities for young people in coastal communities across England. And so they had kind of identified already before I came on board a handful of different places that they wanted to visit and kind of speak to people in more detail and report on. And one of those was Whitehaven. And Polly had been there more than me. I visited Whitehaven for 2 days But Polly had been kind of back and forth a few different times, meeting different people and kind of building relationships and things there. And we, when we were kind of talking about the story, we were saying, you know, we don't want to, the editor of the series didn't want us to just be going to all these different places and telling kind of roughly the same story. She was saying there were themes coming up actually where everywhere they went, it was like, you know, people are kind of struggling a bit here, but there's a great music project, for instance. And she didn't want to just have, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 of those stories. So we're trying to find a new sort of angle everywhere we went. And in Whitehaven, the angle became really clear really quickly because everyone we spoke to immediately was talking about Sellafield and the influence that that had on their sort of lives in general and the way that they sort of viewed their the opportunities that were available to them and the things that they might do when they were older, when we're, you know, because we're talking to kind of young people between 18 and 25, actually younger, maybe kind of 15 to 25. So yeah, it was really interesting for me. I think I was saying to Tom, usually in this series, they've tried to get people from the area, local journalists, to kind of be doing these stories. I'm not from Cumbria and I don't know it very well, although I have visited in the past. So I travelled from Glasgow to do the story. And actually, I think that was a really interesting experience because I was just taken aback quite quickly by how these young people were talking about Sellafield and nuclear. It's not something that is familiar to me. You know, I'm from Glasgow. The west of Scotland has its own sort of industrial history and all of that stuff, but I've never really been to a place or spoken to people in so much detail in a place that's so dominated by one kind of industry and employer in that sense. And I think I say this in the article, the way that young people were talking, they were just saying really casually things like, I might go into nuclear, or, you know, there was just these bits of language that really kind of stood out to me as being so unique to this place. So yeah, in a way, I think it's a great thing that they're trying to get the local journalists to cover these stories. But in a way, I think I had a kind of interesting perspective not being from the area because I was quite taken aback and surprised by the way that people were talking. And I think maybe someone locally would just take that for granted. You know, the young people were saying that. I've never really thought in this much detail about Sellafield before because it's just part of my life.
And were people sort of, you know, talking about the Sellafield pull or draw or influence sort of fondly, resignedly, you know, a mixture of those? You know, what was the perspective?
It was a mixture of both. And obviously we kind of are duty bound to tell both sides of that story. So one of the things that I found really interesting was which I think would be probably most interesting to all of you, was the young people who are kind of interested in creative careers and cultural sort of stuff. And they were talking about how the benefits of Sellafield just don't reach them. They just didn't feel that they were getting any of those benefits. So, you know, we were saying to them, but it brings in this much money, it brings in these many jobs. You know, how does that make you feel? And they were saying, well, it doesn't make me feel anything because I want to be a filmmaker or a musician and there's nothing for me here. So that was kind of really interesting to me. We did, of course, speak to, we wanted to tell both sides of the story. So we did speak to young people who were on the sort of Sellafield track, if you like, and we're really positive about that and the kind of opportunities that it brought to them. So I think, you know, it's both things. I wouldn't want to say, it's not for me to say anyway, but I wouldn't say that the story that we kind of heard was one kind of really bad thing or one really good thing. I think it was a mixture. But I'm glad that we spoke to, you know, people in some of the response I've seen to the article, people were saying that these are voices that don't really get spoken to usually in the Sellafield conversation, kind of people who are interested in creative careers in the creative sector. And we also went to a place called the Foyer, which is temporary accommodation for young people who don't have housing. So some of the most marginalised young people in the area. And they similarly were saying, you know, nuclear doesn't mean anything to us at all. We're not thinking about that. We're just thinking about, you know, getting our benefits or finding a job or supporting our young children. So I think I'm pleased that we heard from those people that maybe aren't often heard in that kind of wider conversation.
I suppose, I mean, another perspective is, you know, as you say, you want to get all sides of the story, you know, to have that massive job machine on your doorstep, which, you know, I'm told pays pretty good wages compared to other wages in that part of the world. And, you know, Sellafield has a social impact fund that chucks money at village halls and community centres and all sorts of things. I think they pay for the new bus station in Whitehaven, I can't remember. But the whole nuclear decommissioning authority and the whole nuclear industry, of which Sellafield is the main part, is a bit of a cash cow to some extent for lots of stuff going on in West Cumbria. And I'm sure you probably picked that up to some extent as well.
Yeah, absolutely. That was also quite surprising to me. Things like Pride having been sponsored by an engineering firm, I just found
Yeah.
quite kind of yeah, again, not saying whether that's a good or a bad thing. I just found it an interesting sort of fit. And I said that we say that throughout the article, you know, every time because we were speaking to, that's the interesting thing. We'd be speaking to these young people who are doing kind of like one of the activities that they did was go to an LGBT cafe, which I don't know if they kind of recognize this, but that is funded by Sellafield or by the supply chain. So we say that throughout the article, you know, this project is funded by them. The foyer where we visited has a relationship with Arup, which is an engineering firm that's part of the supply chain. So again, the young people didn't always necessarily recognize that maybe they actually did have a relationship with Sellafield or with the nuclear industry. So we certainly wanted to kind of get that across and talk about that. But we tried to speak to the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority in a bit more depth to kind of find out about their strategy for different things that they were funding and whether they kind of recognized this issue of maybe kind of cultural projects not feeling quite so represented, but they didn't want to speak to us, so we just got a kind of quite short statement from them, so we couldn't get into that side of it necessarily as much as we might have liked to, but it was definitely interesting to see the kind of scope and range of things that they were funding.
Yeah, I saw the quote from Jamie Reid, who was the MP, worked at Sellafield in the press office, became the MP, and then lost his seat, and is now at the NDA, the Nuclear Decommissioning Authority. Interesting that they couldn't meet you, but anyway, you know, you got a statement, I guess, from them. And there's some really interesting people. I think one or two people on this call, or who sometimes join this call, know and have heard of. I know Cole in particular. Is Cole McAvoy 15, some great quotes from Cole there, talking about, you know, a 15-year-old with a view about the Sellafield situation. If anybody's got any questions, by the way, for Eve, just put your hand up. I mean, you know, the Sellafield Social Impact Fund funded this network for 2 or 3 years to get us off the ground, to their credit. It then became a bit difficult to follow up that conversation, and we've now got finance from other places to keep the Cumbria Arts and Culture Network going. So sometimes there's other pressures that come along to deflect where funding comes from, I think. But it's just, you know, we've got this project called See It to Bid, which is about supporting young creatives across the county. And I think West Cumbria in particular, and this article has highlighted, you know, this kind of extra challenge of almost the inertia of what you will end up doing if you're a young person in West Cumbria, unless you have to work quite hard to break out of that, you know, thing and look for a creative industry and a creative career elsewhere. It's an interesting thing to reflect upon. Kate, I know you read the article. Do you have any thoughts about what Eve wrote about?
Hello, Eve. I run Cumbria Arts and Culture Network. I just thought it was a really good to reignite the conversation nationally, actually, because for us this is our bread and butter, this whole situation, and it's what lies beneath the See It to Be It project that we're running about creative careers and enabling young people to find other ways to live, you know, viably as well, which, you know, is the difficult thing. So for me, I was just grateful and happy to see it being talked about so prominently. I think that's my main observation, and it's kind of sparked conversation among the people that work in the culture sector in this part of the world, some of whom who've popped up here today to hear you speak about it. So I'm interested in a way. Also, I wonder why there wasn't a local journalist to talk about it, because that in a way is possibly part of the issue, isn't it? You know, there aren't the local creatives, because I include a journalist, and among the words, there isn't somebody here to do it. It's great that you came to do it, and I totally agree with you that outside perspective will have brought a different angle on it. and an interesting one.
I know you spoke to Soundwave, Eve, who we know well on this call, and that's where Cole was. And Cole says, we had a career day at school with people from different workplaces, and 99% of them were from Sellafield. It kind of makes you feel like there's just Sellafield or nothing.
Yeah,
And that's classic.
Can I pick up on that? So and many of the people on this call, if you've ever been to a careers event representing the culture sector, and some people here will have been, it can be quite a dispiriting experience. So I'm due to go to the Lakes College to the post-16 careers event on Tuesday. And as part of the See It to Be It project, because one of the things that we want to do is exactly that, increase the visibility of creative careers at that kind of careers event. But you are swamped by industry and trade. And it is quite a difficult thing to do, because you're trying to promote a career, or whether that's behind the scenes or as an individual creative or working for an organization, that doesn't pay very well at all, where it's fragile, where it can be precarious, and you don't have a lot of fancy gifts to give away because we don't want to spend our precious money on fancy gifts. So it's not, but we are determined to chip away at that over the next 2.5 years, where thanks to the Arts Council funding that we've got. And Tuesday is our first foray as a project into the whole world of careers days.
Thanks, Kate. So Eve, your impressions of Whitehaven, 2 days, don't know where you stayed. I'm assuming you stayed over somewhere. I don't know whether you went out, meal, drink, whatever. What were your impressions of Whitehaven as a town?
Well, so I've been to Whitehaven before when I was younger, so I kind of had vague memories of it. I think one of the things that really struck me actually was this sort of contrast, which kind of relates to this whole story that we're talking about. We drove out to Sellafield. We weren't allowed to go, obviously, on the site or anything, but we sort of drove past, and Polly was taking photographs out the sunroof of the car as we kind of crept past. And saw it, the kind of big imposing buildings and all of that, and the sort of secrecy of it, and all the big fences and things. But then we kind of straight after that went out with there's a girl called Lacey who's in the story, who has a horse out in the kind of countryside, and we drove out there, and it was like, I don't know, 20-minute drive maybe, and suddenly we were so far from all of the kind of Sellafield big buildings, and we're in a field with a horse, and there's like chickens, and that was the thing that really stood out to me, was this kind of jumping between these two worlds, which I found really kind of interesting and nice. It's nice to have that kind of those different things going on, and then I also just we didn't spend that much time. We had quite a kind of packed schedule of meeting all these kind of organizations and people. So that was what we spent most of our time doing. But I loved doing that. I love being in Soundwave and in the foyer and kind of hearing from these people that are doing kind of great stuff locally. It seems like there's a lot of good stuff going on, even if there is this kind of wider issue that we've identified of sort of disparity of opportunity maybe. But it was great to hear about the stuff that is happening and the kind of efforts that are being made, and how passionate people were about the things that they were working on in terms of the foyer and the temporary housing. Stuff. So yeah, it was a lovely trip. I would have liked to have spent longer, and I totally agree, just to pick up on Kate's point about having a local journalist. I totally agree with that. I think it would have potentially been better to have someone local. I don't love the kind of form of journalism where someone sort of parachutes in somewhere. Luckily with this, obviously Polly, the photographer, had kind of set it up and had more of a kind of longer term ongoing relationship with a lot of the people that we spoke to, which made me feel a bit better about just kind of pitching up and then leaving again, because I don't really like to do that as a sort of rule.
Yeah. Maddie, who runs ArtGene in Barrow, just put a comment in there saying, same here in Barrow, all any young people see the future as is BAE, which is obviously the big submarine building shipyard in Barrow. Massive pull in a way that Sellafield has a massive pull on the West Coast. Bob's got a question, he says in chat. So Bob, fire away.
Hello. Thank you. I'll keep it brief. Basically, some of you will remember, you may have been to the visitors centre many years ago. And as a child, I went a few times at the visitors centre at Sellafield. And since then, trying to cut a long story short, basically, it doesn't seem that Sellafield particularly communicate with people in the region, or their PR has a certain strategy that unless you work for them, or unless they provide money to whatever project you're working on, there's a kind of lack of communication. And I kind of wonder why people think that is. Maybe why you, Eve, think that might be, that there isn't this, considering this so omnipresent in the region. Why, where's this communication? Why do you think that is?
Yeah, I think we did find kind of something along those lines where I think there wasn't an openness. Sometimes you go to these places and you speak to these kind of industries and organizations, and they're really up for it and they want the kind of publicity and the promo. We didn't really find that with Sellafield. They were a little bit more kind of protective, I think, of kind of their image, I guess, and the story that we were going to tell. And we had a young woman who was going to work there on site for a different, not for Sellafield Limited, but for one of the kind of other on-site organizations, who spoke to us, who actually was really positive. She had a really positive story to tell about the kind of wanting to go into science and the impact that Sellafield had had on her, and being really excited about starting her job. But then she was told when she started that job that she wasn't allowed to be quoted by us, which was a shame, actually, because it was a perspective that then we were sort of missing from the story. So well, I did feel that. I don't really know why that is. I don't think I have enough of a kind of context to be able to speculate on that, but I do recognize the kind of picture that you're painting there. We definitely did kind of experience a sort of wish to control the narrative, or to kind of keep on top of how people are talking about Sellafield and the nuclear sector. And there's been obviously a lot of media coverage of whistleblowers, and I understand if I was the PR person at Sellafield, I would also feel like I had to kind of protect against some of that. So I'm not, I understand that everyone's coming from different places and has different motivations, but yeah, certainly it was something that I kind of recognize.
Thank you, Bob. What a reasonable person you come across as, Eve. Listen, I've put the article that Eve wrote, if you've not read it, in chat. So there's a link there to the Guardian, and obviously it's part of a series. Where else are they going to, Eve? Are you involved in any of the other pieces?
I don't know where else they're going to. They've already been to Tendring, which is in Essex, which is, I think, always described as the most deprived part of England. They've been to Morecambe. I think probably a plan to go to the part of the northeast. But yeah, I'm just a reader now, the same as all of you. So I'll be interested to see.
You're just a gun for hire, Eve. Just a gun for hire.
Yeah.
Well, it's really, thank you ever so much for joining us this morning. It's been a good little chat. I know we haven't chatted for so long. But really interesting to hear your perspective, and it's so interesting to hear someone else's perspective that sort of comes in, parachuting, whatever, sometimes that's the way it is, and just get your perspective. And I thought it was a really good piece, a really interesting piece with some great quotes and some great people that you met, and some lovely photographs as well. Polly obviously is a great photographer, so look out for it if you've not read it and had to look at the pictures. Thank you ever so much for joining us this morning, Eve.
Oh, thank you.
Well, let's go from Eve to Eva, who is in a beautiful barn, and I encourage you to put your screen, pin Eva, and you'll get Eva big on your screen. She is going to tell us about, she's a landscape artist, and tell us a bit about yourself, Eva, and what your exhibition is about, and how people can come see it too.
Yeah, great. Hello everyone, thanks for having me. So I'm Eva Ullrich, and I'm a painter. Describe myself as a landscape painter. I grew up in Kendal. This is my home farm. We're not farmers. My parents have this barn, and I actually grew up swinging around on the beams, playing in the hay bales in here. So it's quite nice that I'm now showing my work here. So I studied in Scotland. I got a degree in painting and printmaking from Glasgow School of Art, and graduated in 2011. And I've been painting more or less ever since, on and off. Well, most of the time, in between part-time jobs. And yeah, so I was based in Bristol for quite a long time. prior to the first COVID lockdown, when I actually moved back up here. And since being back up here, I felt a bit of a disconnect, and I was missing my sort of busy artist studio, communal studio life in Bristol, and feeling quite sort of frustrated that I didn't have as much daily interaction with, well, other artists. And also we had wonderful open studios events, and I did a lot of art fairs and things down there. So I feel like I was trying to work out how I could maybe create that up here instead. Lucky for me, my parents have this amazing barn space. So it's basically, ever since I've graduated, I've always imagined maybe doing something in here. And it's only really now that it's actually managed to get it together. I saw an open call from the Visual Arts Association, and they were inviting people to apply for what they call a global art trail called Open Spaces. It's the first year they've done it, but I thought, I'm the kind of person that needs a deadline, so I thought I'd apply for that. And they're basically encouraging artists to show their work in everyday spaces. So it could be like cafes, schools, or private houses, or shop windows, or unusual spaces like barns. So that was great, and it's sort of made me get on with it. So I spent the last couple of months trying to clear the barn out and installing lighting, and really trying to make it into a kind of a usable gallery space. So
You've got 21 pieces up, is that right, Eva?
I've got 21 paintings in the show. So the barn has got,
Just show us around. Can you show
I'll
us
give you a
around
little walk
bit?
around
Yeah.
now. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting here in between the double doors. So I've opened it up, so there's lots of light.
That's lovely.
And this is, we do sometimes do weddings in here. So this is actually the dance floor, but this is what I would call the main space. I'll just turn my camera around so you can see.
What
So
a beautiful
basically,
building.
we've got, it's all original. It's been restored to its kind of original state, sort of. Yeah, we've got these gorgeous stone walls and original flag flooring here. And then I just love the fact that you can look at a painting.
Do your paintings work well in that space? Does it, did you feel this is a great space for your work?
I actually think, and a lot of people have said this, that they look almost better on these walls than on a white wall. I think partly because my work's so smooth and some of it is quite minimal, and it's a really lovely contrast between the texture of the barn, and so they actually stand out very well. So my works can be quite big, so it's a lovely chance to show everything in one space, because so many galleries don't have a lot of room, and that's why this painting here, which is the biggest one I've ever done, I've never actually shown it, even though I did it about 2 years ago.
Wow.
So this is the first time I've ever had it on display. So and then this one here.
And how long is your exhibition on for, Eva?
So it's on for a total of 3 weeks. So it opened on the 18th of October, and I'm going to run it till the 9th of November. So it's a week on Sunday is the last day. Yeah, so my favourite thing about this space is the fact that we've got the different rooms. We've got these, this is the old hayloft, this stage. So we've got these multiple levels, and it's an amazing sort of viewpoint. So I'm right up high here, so you can get a lovely view over that big landscape. And I'll give you a little tour around.
You're doing a great job, Eva, with your camera work.
Try not to be too wobbly. Yeah, some of my paintings are quite abstract, but they're all very much rooted in landscape and come from my experience of landscape. And the concept for this show was actually, so I spent quite a lot of time in, well, within the Arctic Circle, not so recently, but I had a lot of inspirational trips to like Arctic Norway and Iceland, and I was always fascinated in capturing the light. And well, I think it is a lot about light. That, you know, it's just something particular about the quality of being up there. And I love the fact that I can paint something based on that, but really it's my experience of the Cumbrian landscape, which it's inextricably linked to everything I paint, because that's the landscape that I know.
All right.
So,
well, we've got a fantastic selection of your paintings in all the different spaces there, and different sizes and shapes as well, and beautiful colours. So someone asked, where is the barn? It's between Burningside and the A6, the Shap Road going into Kendal.
we're just 5 minutes out of Kendal, so it's
So when you finish showing us around, even you're back at your whatever, perhaps you might just put a little link into chat of the exhibition so people can catch it. And as I said, I think on till the 9th of November. It's so lovely to have that view from the hayloft as well.
Absolutely.
Someone asks, Eva, where do you get your funding from? Have you got, Amy says, did anyone catch where Eva's funding was from?
I wish I had funding. It's all self-funded. This is why I haven't done it until now, because I've had to do it all myself. But I am very lucky that my parents gave me the use of the barn without charging me. So, you know, that's
so for this exhibition, you've got a free space, which is lovely.
I mean, I have spent a lot of money on lighting, so but you know, I am selling my work, so hopefully.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for showing us around. Chris saying this looks wonderful. Derek saying great display space and great potential for performances as well.
Yeah,
Jackie
so
saying
that's
how beautiful paintings too.
Want to mention is the fact that we have had a lot of live music events here in the past, just private ones usually. But if anybody has requirements for a space like this, then please get in touch. I'd love to hear ideas. One of the things I'm trying to do is set up an artist residency. So we had our first one in September. I'm a member of a collective called the Wilderness Art Collective. We're based all over the UK, but I invited everyone to come and spend a week here. And it was just such a lovely chance to get a chance to know each other better, but have this space as a kind of platform for skill sharing and socializing. And we ran a couple of workshops for the public. So it's just about thinking about what's possible in this space, really.
Great.
So,
great, thank you very much. Well, thank you. As Phil says, great paintings displayed in a wonderful space. It's like looking into portals to other worlds. It's magical.
Oh, thank you.
That's a very nice summary. Thank you very much, Eva.
All right.
And good luck. And good luck with the rest of the exhibition as well. Lovely to meet you.
Cheers. Thank you.
And great camera work. Right. Speaking of great camera work, I'm going to put Maddie on the spot now, because we are about to see 3 short films about a new exhibition that is opening at ArtGene next week, I think I'm right in saying. So Maddie, before we see the beautiful camera work with Miranda telling us about the exhibition, which is going to be in 3 chunks, so it's going to be quite a production effort from Chris to get these to work as a narrative structure for us. Just give us an introduction, Maddie, about this new exhibition.
Well, thanks, Tom, and just a pre-thanks to Rachel for uploading on her little phone 3 different lumps, and for Miranda doing an excellent job. But it is a fabulous exhibition. It's from a friend of Cumbria Arts and Culture Network, Alistair Devlin. He's going to be in the exhibition, and lovely, amazing Faye Matlob, who we've been working with both those artists over the last year. They've both done a residency with us. We put out for a single residency, and I couldn't decide between the 2 of them. They were both so good. So we just kind of found the extra money to do the residencies. They've been working with our refugee and asylum seeking community here in Barrow on our allotment soup site, or working around that sort of, you know, way that we engage people with food. And both come out with very different kind of views and ways of looking at that process. Amazing work. I'm also in the exhibition as well. It's called Remember Nature. It's all around a big day of action that's happening, a big national day of action, organised by, just pause here, the Serpentine, the Tate, all the big guns, little old us, and the big guns are all part of this big thing. Oh my goodness me, you know, bit of the vapours. But you know, the best thing, ArtGene, spelt with an A, is on the beginning of everything because it's
Where it belongs, Maddie. It's where it
alphabetical.
belongs.
Where it belongs. So that was my delight and loving doing it. But it's a lovely big open exhibition, free to come to. We're starting off on the afternoon with a feast for all of the people that have been involved in the process. So a big feast down the middle of the gallery with allotment soup food, but made by Faye Maclob, one of the artists. She's been producing a cookery book, working with the refugee community. And she'll present the cookery book, but she's making the food as part of that feast. So it's Iraqi based food. So that should be really interesting. She's also bringing a mam along as well to help out. Good lass. And then in the evening as well, we're having some of those little bits and pieces, some more nibble effect food that she's producing. So 6:30, if you want to come, it's free. Always a good do. Always based around food. But yeah, remember nature, important. That's what we're talking about.
Thank you, Maddie. So let's see Rachel's excellent camera work and Miranda's excellent presentation work in front of the camera.
Okay.
As they say in television, roll VT, Chris, when you're ready. I can see Miranda, but I can't hear her. Is that the same for everybody else? Yeah, so we just need to get the sound of Miranda. Probably the button needs to be pressed on the... Miranda is now static on my screen.
I think it's the presence of Amy that's making Chris nervous. Is that what it is, Chris? It's the share sound button that you need to hit.
Probably.
Yes,
is.
I know. Bear with. Gonna come out of the share.
That's the poster behind Miranda. That's the lovely poster for the exhibition, which is a fantastic image sitting there.
Yeah, so the image is of Samira, who's one of the community that we've been working with. She is so up for it. Honestly, I've never met a lass who's so fun and so keen to be on the poster.
Great.
Okay.
Here we go.
Hey, my name is Miranda Hill and I am the co-curator of the Remember Nature Intra-actions
Hearing but faint.
exhibition at ArtGene.
Yes.
It's taking place next Tuesday at the gallery, which is in the Nantate Centre in Barrow and Furness. So Intra-actions is a show that invites us to think about how we reconnect and engage with and sort of reroute ourselves in ecology. And by ecology we mean the land around us, the living systems, and also each other and the people and places and communities that exist.
So that's the end of film 1. That's part 1 of the trilogy. Part 2 is just going to be loaded up now. And part 3, I can let you into a secret. We actually go into the gallery and we see Maddie in action as well. So that's something to look forward to as Chris loads up part 2, and then we'll go to part 3.
We also made it especially difficult for this week for Chris.
Yeah.
She knew Amy was coming.
Okay. I think it all worked fine in the dress rehearsal.
I'm just wondering, Chris, if you turn up the sound also on your computer, it might help.
My sound is up as high as it goes.
Oh,
The
right,
other
okay.
2 films are a bit better, I think.
Okay.
Right.
So Remember Nature is actually quite small.
Okay. Here we go, hopefully.
Project and call to action, which was first conceived by the artist Gustav Metzger, who sadly passed away in 2017. And 10 years ago, he created this project, this call to action, and he brought together artists and institutions and people from all over the world to come together to talk about how we can remember nature and address its ecological crisis that we are still in. And 10 years later, we're recreating that event. We're recreating that day, which is next Tuesday, the 4th, and in remembrance of not just Gustav, but also nature. And we want to come together to readdress that question: how do we remember nature, but also recognise that it's not just a nostalgic act to look back and acknowledge the beauty of nature, but it can also be an ethical and a political and sometimes playful act. So the works in the ArtGene gallery behind me will give you a sneak peek.
And as we wait to enter the gallery, again, for those that have not been to the Nantate building in Barrow, it is the most beautiful building, and the ArtGene setup and gallery and space and working space is the most gorgeous space. Also, Maddie is a bit of a green-fingered genius when it comes to keeping her what's the name of those lovely flowers that you've got, Maddie?
God, I was wondering what you were going to say, Tom. Oh, cacti.
You got your cacti. The light and the warmth and the temperature, obviously, through the winter is perfect at ArtGene for growing beautiful plants. And obviously, Maddie is very skilled as well. So if you haven't been to, basically, I'm saying, if you haven't been to the Nantate building and you haven't been to ArtGene, then get yourself down there because it's fantastic. It's where we had the big meet about 6 weeks or so ago. Chris, have I filled in enough for you to get the third one ready? Okay,
hopefully.
Here we go.
Here we go.
Here's a sneak peek of what we've got on show in the exhibition. Maddie's main piece is a huge tower, as you can see. It's an ode to James Ramsden, and also a platform to represent and to speak for nature, the natural world, and to recognise that it too has agency. There might be a performance, so please come. There is a performance even of Maddie, and that will be at the opening at 7 o'clock. Maddie, Clint, say hello. Hello. And then Alistair Debling, so this is just one of his many photographs that he's created with many different people within the town. This is Pappy, and these works are exploring sort of how ideas of nature have shaped social hierarchies. So during his workshops, he restaged many different historical paintings that sort of reinforced these hierarchies, and then recreated poses and costumes and hand-tinted each image to reconstruct these works. And then finally, Faye, she's been on quite a journey to create a 50-page recipe book, which is here, fresh off the press. Every spread, every page and recipe will be on show, including recipes for falafel and baklava, full and much, much more. So please come along to the show. It opens at 6:30 p.m. next Tuesday the 4th on the Day of Action to Remember Nature, and we hope you can make it.
Fantastic, fantastic. Didn't she do well? Didn't she do well? That's not easy to do. That is not easy to do. Thank you, Chris, for driving that and producing that. So, Maddie, just remind us again, next week is the opening. Next
week's the opening. We've still got a lot of work to do, a lot of work to put up. So it's Tuesday, not November the 5th, but November the 4th. So come along, 6:30, free food and a warm welcome. And it'd be lovely to see any or all of you. So, yeah.
How long is it open for, Maddie, the exhibition?
It's on until the 21st of November. Not long. We don't do exhibitions for a long amount of time, simply because we don't have the staff to keep them open. But we've also got another exhibition on in the new year, so we need to get prepped for that as well.
Fantastic. And thank you very much. And thank you, Rachel, for filming and getting that to us late last night as well. Really nice to have that, and nice to get around the county. I always like to say Whitehaven, Barrow, Kendal, all that sort of stuff. Well, let's go to Ambleside now. Thank you very much, Maddie.
Thanks.
Let's go to Ambleside now and meet Faye. If you don't know Faye Morrissey, she runs the Armit and is also part of the CACN steering group as well. So that's great. A recent acquisition. We spoke to her people and we did a deal. Faye, you are setting up a new network for small museums, I think, just in Cumbria. Tell us a bit about that, what your thinking is behind it, and who might get involved.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me again. It's lovely to see everybody this morning. So my idea has come about partly as a result of I'm studying for an AMA, which is part of the Museums Association. And as part of what I'm doing with this work, I have to run a project. And it felt like a great opportunity to bring together some ideas I've been having since I've been working up here in Cumbria for the last 4 3/4 years now. Amazing. I've always sort of felt that there was a bit of a gap for a group or a network to be established, and that particularly allows easier correspondence between small museums across the county. And this is because although I do feel that we are a great county for sharing ideas, being open to helping one another, I still feel like there's a little bit of a difficulty around this communication. Maybe it's distances, maybe it's due to people being so busy with work. But basically, I felt that within the small museums, certainly we have potentially similar audiences, similar issues, challenges and queries. And at the same time, we're all going to be and are running great projects and great initiatives. So I basically felt that I could foresee a benefit to creating a platform for museums that could facilitate quicker communication and the sharing of these ideas. And so I didn't want to just go in all guns blazing with this. So I did some bits of research, spoke to a variety of people, including Kate on the call now, and some colleagues as part of Museum Development North, to basically see, you know, does this have legs? Would this be a benefit? And I found out that there had been a similar group in the past. And so I want to see if we can kind of resurrect that and bring it back to the fore. But as part of the not running before you can walk part of it is, I thought, well, let's just do this firstly as a pilot phase. So I've reached out to 10 small organisations, museums across the county, spread from north to south, and it will run across effectively between now up until sort of late spring, early summer of 2026 to see how things go and how it develops. In addition, this is about involving staff and or volunteers within that organisation, depending on obviously how small they might be. Some might be entirely volunteer run. And I really wanted it to be as inclusive as possible to everybody within those organisations. So whether that being you're in a position like myself as the manager or the curator, but also to those who potentially are starting out in roles such as part-time positions or museum assistants, and they're looking to work themselves through and grow in their career. So it's really just at the very beginning of this pilot at present, and I'm really pleased to say that we've got between 8 to 10 museums on board. And so the first thing that I've been doing is just conducting a survey with those museums to see what they think of the idea. Do they see a benefit to it? If so, what do they think would be of the biggest benefit to them? What sort of communication would they prefer? And do they want to meet in person at all? Because I don't want to make this another onerous thing that people have to commit time to. As I've already said, I understand people are very busy, but I think there is this great opportunity to have an easier way to, as I say, share ideas, share knowledge of people such as yourselves on this call now, who you might have worked with or have knowledge of, and to just better bring people together. So
what are the main challenges at the moment for small museums generically? You know, what would you say are the sort of 2 or 3 things that you might grapple with?
Well, obviously one of them can be to do with funding, and so if there's opportunity to kind of share resources, pool things like that would be great. Other challenges include just kind of resourcing staff time, and sometimes as well it can be around finding appointments if you're looking for staff recruitment, and that's why, in another way, I think See It to Be It is a great thing to be focusing on as a project for young people across the county. So I think there's some of those things that come out, but within the survey that I've been doing, I'm collating the results at the moment to see what as I say, people would think would be of most benefit, and also a potential difficulty for the group, so that we can get started and not get started off on the wrong foot, so that potentially, hopefully, that by the spring, early summer, this pilot phase is through, we can have a better understanding of where we're at that point, and hopefully to take it forward, because this is not my group. I'm just hopefully getting it off the ground, so it does need to be something that everybody gets behind, and then hopefully we can open it out to more museums rather than just the ones in the pilot phase. So yeah, I'm really excited for it, and hopefully we'll get going.
I salute you for saying it's not just my group, Faye. Good luck with that. Good luck with that. That's always a challenge. And just what do you get at the end of your studies then? What do you become?
Well, I don't necessarily get any sort of qualification, but I do get a sort of credit marker that I now can put some letters at the end of my name, even if it's not PhD.
Sounds like an ambition worth pursuing.
So yeah, hopefully it'll be great, and hopefully we'll be able to interact with lots of you on this call as part of that.
Yeah, I think it's always been, speaking of challenges, it's always been a bit of a challenge to get people from museums on this sometimes, partly because of capacity. People are often, short-staffed, etc., etc. It'll be great to get a bit more engagement with the small museums. So if you can help to do that, Faye, I'm sure there's learning across the network of cultural organisations that are not exclusive to galleries or photography or to museums, institutions as well as individuals. So it'd be great to see how that evolves in the future.
Yeah, and I just want to say as well, thank you to CACN, because you are supporting me with this group and sort of helping as an umbrella bit larger organisation to facilitate that. And if I can just do a small part and hopefully bringing museums to the table a bit more, that's another good thing to do.
Lovely. Okay, thanks, Faye. Good luck with that. Right, we're going to conclude this morning with a bit of an update from Kate, the director of CACN, about the See It to Be It project, which hopefully you're aware of. Lots of stuff been going on in recent weeks. We promised ourselves we'd do a monthly update on these Friday calls. So just 5 minutes, Kate, on where we're at.
Certainly. Okay, so See It to Be It, for anybody who is joining us relatively recently, is a project for which we at CACN have got funding from Arts Council, Cumberland Council and Westmoreland and Furness Council. And it's a 2.5-year project to enable more young people to develop viable creative careers. We're trying to do 3 things. The first one is to connect up everything that's already happening so that young people know where to find information about creative careers. We're increasing visibility in schools and education settings of creative careers, and we are creating more, particularly more paid opportunities for those young creatives at the start of their careers. So we got the money in the sort of late summer, and we have spent the last few months getting ourselves set up, and we are now off and running. Just to recap what we've been doing recently, we've done a massive recruitment exercise. We've interviewed dozens and dozens of people. So we now have a fantastic new producer, Iona, who will join us very soon. And Stuart is our new trainee. He's on this call, and I think you're going to talk to him next week as well, Tom. Hello, Stuart. We have also created our advisory group of 9 young people from across the county in various different disciplines across the creative and culture sector. They met last week for the first time, and they will be helping to shape and inform and steer the project led by the Knotted Project. Some of you will know Simon McKellick and Natalie, who run the Knotted Project. They are leading the advisory group. So that's a really important strand of work, and in a way we haven't wanted to run ahead with too much else before getting the advisory group in place. Our project team met for the second time last week at the brewery, so they are partners including the brewery, Queer Cumbria, Rose Hill Theatre, Centre for Leadership Performance, that we have a core of delivery partners who make up the project team. So that's been about capacity and structure building for the project, and I'm really pleased with how that's gone. It's just been a monumental effort. So in terms of starting to deliver activity, we have put out a call for our first cohort of young mentees, our mentoring programme. We've now selected 5 mentees,
Six.
rather.
Six.
6, I beg your pardon. It's all a bit of a blur. 6 young people who we have selected from, I think, about 17 applicants, for whom we are now in the process of finding mentors, and they will be mentored over the next 6 months. And we've done mentoring schemes before. This one is specifically for 18 to 30-year-olds. So that's the first thing that we've got going. And now I am happy to announce the first piece of training as part of the See It to Be It programme, and it's called How to Talk to Tiny People. It's going to be run and delivered by the Centre for Leadership Performance, who are one of our core partners. They're a sort of skills and careers organisation based in West Cumbria, but they operate across the whole county. How to talk to tiny people is really important for us. It is a first step in enabling us to get into primary schools and start to talk more about creative careers. So the Centre for Leadership programme run a project called the Primary Business Partnership, and that is about getting people from across a really wide range of jobs and disciplines and careers into primary schools to talk about their career journey. And people do that in all sorts of different careers across primary schools in West Cumbria currently. But it's really, really notable that there are not many creatives going into primary schools. And one of the reasons for that is that, on the whole, well, you're not paid to do that. However, we believe that creatives should be paid to do that. So as part of the See It to Be It project, that is what we're proposing to do. So we're looking to build a cohort of creatives and people from across the culture sector to attend this training, How to Talk to Tiny People, after which there will be paid opportunities to go into primary schools and be part of careers events and career journey sharing days from the new year. So there are 2 sessions on the 19th of November, one at 10 o'clock and one at 7 o'clock. It's just a short hour to learn about what this programme is going to consist of, and a bit about how to talk to tiny people. So that's what we're looking for, people to attend that training. It's free, it's not paid, but the opportunities that it generates will be. So please do.
Asks Kate, is the Talking to Tiny People training only for young people, or can anyone apply?
No, this is for anyone, absolutely anyone. The young people are the recipients in this case, because this project is about the pipeline. It's about getting in there and inspiring the very youngest children, and about building on that as they grow older. So this is our first foray into paying creatives to be part of existing careers programs where they're currently not well represented. We are not well represented. So please do look on the website.
Online, Jackie.
Yes, it's online. It's on Teams, and it will be delivered by the Centre for Leadership Performance. So if you know anybody who you think might benefit from that, or you'd like to do it yourself, please look on the website and sign up, because I'm confident that it's going to be good, and it's just a first step to build a cohort of people who can get into primary schools with us.
Thank you, Kate. Is there a link for it, Chris, that we could pop?
I will pop that in a second, but just before we go, we're baselining the attendance at these Friday calls. I'm going to pop in a little poll, and if you can respond to identify your rough age group and gender, then as we move down the line with See It to Be It, we can see if we're shifting the age profile of the Friday calls, which will be one of the elements in that.
So we've been doing this for the last few weeks, everybody, that people that are new to this call. We're just tracking
It's
ages.
the first time that we've had somebody under 30 since we started. I think I know who that is.
We're none of us getting any younger.
All right, Kate, thank you ever so much. So keeping track, see it to be it, lots of stuff online, lots of social media about those opportunities as well. There's lots of meetups coming up, which Chris is organising, which all that information, again, is online for people that do different things in different sectors, taking place over the next few weeks. So please look out for that as well. Thank you very much to Eve. Eve, and you've stayed with us. I hope it's been, how's it been for you, Eve? How's that hour been for you? Was that any interest after your bit?
Yeah, really interesting. Thank you for having me along to the whole thing. It's great to hear about that project. It ties in so well with what we were reporting on.
Very much so. They're very much so. Absolutely tuned into what your piece was about. Thank you very much to Eva for showing us around the barn. Fantastic. And to Faye for telling us about the Small Museums Network. Miranda and Rachel and Maddie at ArtGene, the beautiful ArtGene in the Nantate building. And to Kate and to Chris also for keeping the show on the road with those 3 little films. Next week, we're going to hear about Borderlines, which is back. Book Festival in Carlisle is back after a 2-year break rather. So we're going to hear what Borderlines is all about. And also we're going to meet Stuart properly, and we're going to meet Iona properly as well, who are 2 new members of staff at CSEN, a bit of their background, what they're going to be doing, and how they will be important contacts for you as well going forwards. Lovely to see you all. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for sharing an hour with us. See you again sometime soon.